Today on Dialed In DIY, we're making a lantern or liquid fuel candle that's perfect for when the lights go out or you just want a little accent light. In a previous video, linked in the description below, we made a cooking oil filter. We're going to use that for the fuel for our lantern. The great thing is you can make this with materials you probably already have around the house. A couple of aluminum cans, a nail, knife or scissors, some cotton fabric, and cooking oil. You can also use some adhesive to keep this thing together if you want to. The first thing we need to do is actually make a hole for the wick. This is easily done with some kind of a nail or a hole punch like I'm using here. The size you're going for is about the diameter of a regular pencil. Now we're going to hack off the bottom of the can. We're actually going to cut this a little bigger than we need, and we'll trim it down later. We're going to cut away a little over half the can. Now let's cut the second aluminum can in half. We're going to trim this up a little bit in the future too. These rough, jagged edges can actually nick you or cut you a little bit, so I like to trim them off right away. We're going to keep trimming now until we get these down to the size we actually want to work with. For me, cutting down in this kind of a spiral fashion works the best. This keeps everything kind of even and clean, and I find that it's nice because you can always cut away a little bit more if you need to, but you can't add it back once you've cut it off. We're going to use our hole puncher nail and put a hole in the lower portion of the outer ring. This is going to be for fill spot when we want to add the oil later. You're going to want to make this to size for whatever screw you're going to use as a plug. I just grab whatever I have left over hanging around from an old salvage project. The screw doesn't have to fit tight, it just needs to not fall inside. We're going to get our adhesive ready to keep the two pieces of can together. It's really not as much to hold them together as it is to prevent oil from leaking out between the cans later. I use this JB Weld for a couple of reasons. It's really strong and heat resistant, and it's the exact same method I use when I'm making alcohol stoves for camping and backpacking. Whatever adhesive you decide to use, you just want to paint a ring inside this bottom piece of can, about a ½ inch wide. Grab the smaller piece of can that you prepared for the wick and push it down facing the exact same direction as your bottom piece. Gently set the two pieces together and then turn the can upside down on a firm surface. Start pushing down on all edges as you rotate it around. You want to push gradually at this point. It will buckle a little bit, but that's okay. You can push it in with your fingers to clean it up when you're done. The purpose of the adhesive is merely to keep the oil from spilling out if you happen to tip it over by accident. Now grab one of the leftover pieces of your can and cut out a circle a little bit bigger than a quarter. This is going to be used as a wick holder. Grab a nail or something like that and punch a hole right through the center. Allow your adhesive enough time to set before adding any oil. I usually let regular JB Weld sit for about a day, but this JB Quick can be done in a lot less time. We're now going to add our wick. This can be anything made out of cotton. It can be rope, some kind of a thick string, or like I use, fabric that's been rolled up. The key is just to make sure it's 100% cotton, otherwise you're going to get some nasty fumes. You push it through the wick holder, leaving about 1/4 of an inch sticking out the top, maybe a little more, and then put the rest of the wick down inside. To add the oil, I actually use one of these meat injectors. You can find them in any grocery store, but it's great because they're big and the needle's really large, so it doesn't take any time to fill it up. You can also see here the location of the fill hole is perfect because if you spill a little extra oil, all you have to do is tip this in that direction and it will slide down inside. Now add the screw that you're going to use for a plug and your project is done. Let's light this up. It's really easy to light these actually, so using a butane torch is a little bit of overkill, but it was handy, so I went with it. You can see a little bit of smoke coming off at this point, and you can actually prevent that just by making the wick a little bit shorter. You can trim it down or pull it back inside. I was first making these for outdoor use only because I was concerned there was going to be a little bit of a smell coming off of these, especially given the fact that I'm using used cooking oil that I've filtered, but I was pleasantly surprised. There is very little to no smell at all. Thank you for watching. Please press like and then subscribe. There will be more dialed in DIY to come.